Please.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we come tonight gathered here, Lord, and we just thank you for your blessings and the ability to be able to come here and gather tonight. Lord, be with the meeting tonight and help each council member with the decisions, Lord. Bless the city, in his name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Brenda. All righty. First up is mayor's announcements, appointments, and votes. First up is a proclamation for Crime Prevention Month. Whereas, whoops, I got the wrong one. Get the right one here. Whereas crime and the fear of crime adversely affect the well-being and quality of life for all citizens and businesses in our community, and whereas citizen crime prevention action has proven to be a successful force in reducing crime, and whereas people of all ages must be made aware of the dangers of crime and how they protect themselves from becoming victims, and whereas effective crime prevention programs succeed because of partnerships with the law enforcement, other governmental agencies, civic groups, schools, faith community, businesses, and individuals as they help to nurture communal responsibility and instill pride. Now, therefore, I, Daniel Harder, Mayor of the City of Republic, Missouri, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2016 as Crime Prevention Month, and urge all citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, and businesses to invest in the power of prevention and to work together to make the City of Republic, Missouri a safer and stronger, more caring community. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affixed a seal of the City of Republic this 10th day of October, AD 2016. And I think Lieutenant Wheeler to come up and accept on behalf of the Republic Police Department and other officers. Oh, no. I'll give you that. Well, here, let me hold that. Oh, well, here you go. Hold that.
We don't really like each other.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. And the second announcement is in recognition of Fire Prevention Month. Whereas fire is a serious public concern, safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes and where people are at greater risk from fire, and whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half, and whereas all smoke alarms should be replaced at least once every 10 years, and whereas Republic's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education, and now therefore I, Daniel Harder, Mayor of the City of Republic, Missouri, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2016 as Fire Prevention Month, and urge all the people of the Republic to find out how old the smoke alarms in their homes are, to replace them if they're more than 10 years old, and to participate in the many public safety activities and efforts of Republic's fire and emergency services during the Fire Prevention Month 2016. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affixed a seal of the City of Republic this 10th day of October, AD 2016. And for Fire Prevention Week proclamation acceptance, we have Engineer Lori Cottrell, Captains Joe Fram, Shad Kleinlein will be accepting. And while they're coming up here, Lori has been told here that Lori's been instrumental for years in setting up the fire prevention activities throughout the schools and preschools in the city. So thank you, Lori. I'll let you have that. I've known you like for a long time. You have to keep shaking my hand.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill. My name is Ron. What did I say? Fran. Sorry about that. No public hearing. On to citizen participation. Anyone wishing to speak on items not on the agenda, please step forward and give us your best 3 minutes and sign in, please. Citizen participation. Seeing none, citizen participation closed. I need a motion and a second for the consent agenda.
Motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. On to the financial report. Welcome, Mr. O'Donnell.
Just a couple of items real quick before John gives some more specifics. I do want to speak to some changes you're going to see in tonight's reports. The first one of which is your recap of year-to-date revenue and expense report. That's the document with multiple yellow lines. As you can see on there, we have broken up the streets and stormwater funds. Those numbers are accurate for 2016 year-to-date. The revenues are accurate, which which is made up of our stormwater sales tax. The expenditures, we believe that to the best of our ability, those are accurate. Those will be subject to an independent review and analysis, which we'll talk about later tonight. The other thing we did on this report is we broke up the utility into water and wastewater. This is obviously taking steps to getting these funds represented the way they should be. I do want to point out for one more time, though, the expenditures on the stormwater side and then all of the expenditures on the street side could be subject to that independent review and analysis. So that's the first changes on that document. The second document that I want to bring to your attention is the cash report that you were given to shortly before the meeting. And once again, just want to reiterate the same things that was said about the other report. The numbers highlighted there in yellow are all subject to that internal review and analysis, which we'll discuss later tonight. But to the best of our ability, the numbers are 2016 are accurate, but anything prior to 16 will be subject to that internal review.
Thank you, Mr. Keeling. Mr. O'Donnell.
I'm done. With all due respect. Just on a couple of other points relating to the reports. On the cash report, what we also provided for you was some additional information here, some notes that Mr. Keeling already discussed with respect to streets and stormwater, plus some general notes regarding sales tax revenues in general and according to ordinance and ballot language. Briefly, sales tax revenues for streets and for parks and recreation. It did say in the ballot language it is for operations and maintenance as well as construction, reconstruction, repairs. So that would make all sales tax revenues available as everyday cash. And so therefore, that's why you don't, on that one line which says net sales tax receipts approved by voters, which is in the restricted cash side of it, you see zeros for streets and parks. That money is already upstairs in the operating cash line. With respect to stormwater, that's what we're going to resolve because according to the ballot language, it is stormwater improvements for constructing, enlarging, extending, and improving the collection system. And those monies should be kept in a separate fund, which we are doing so. With respect to fire sales tax, that is simply a tax that was approved in 2013 by the voters to assist the fire department in getting needed equipment, and therefore the only activity in that is receipts coming in and purchases, cash going out for purchases of equipment. So we wanted to put that information in there as additional backstory as we come into compliance with the ballot language. With respect to the revenue and expense reports, we are down a little bit versus 2015. We've also, as he says, we've also made some changes in the revenue and expense report. And what we're trying to do here is to get our revenues and expenses expressed on cash basis accounting. Without trying to get into a whole lot of detail here, we sometimes have to do entries to convert from cash to accrual basis accounting for purposes of the audited financial statements. What we're trying to do is flip the page back to where we were before cash basis accounting to give council an idea just exactly what's coming in, what's going out on a monthly basis. You'll see we have, generally we have net revenues over expenditures in all the funds except general. That is due to some one-time purchases that have happened this year, including the City Hall land purchase of $411,000, the feasibility study of $39,000, payments to GovHR USA for $18,000 for the search for the city administrator, And then we also had an extra pay period in the month of September, 3 instead of 2, which also added approximately $150,000 in payroll expenses to that number. I expect now that we're past that, as revenues continue to grow, that we'll be able to whittle down that deficit to a manageable number by year end. And with that, I am done.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Any questions for Mr. O'Donnell on the financial report? Please take these home, go over them, look at them real well. I know this is a new format, so if you do have any questions, please get with Mr. O'Donnell or Mr. Cameron. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to answer your questions. I need a motion and a second for the approval of the financial report.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Reports from the staff. Mr. Keeling.
3 items I want to mention. The first one is just a public thank you to BioLife Plasma Centers. Last Friday, they brought 60 members out here of their workforce for a volunteer work day. I'll say they brought them out to Parks and Rec, but they ended up helping out citywide, city landscaping projects, city painting, just about anything you could imagine. 60 people from 9 to 1, you can imagine how much they got done. It was absolutely impressive. So just a public thank you to BioLife Plasma. That quantity of bodies, and they were all adults, and they could really get a lot of things done, and they worked really well with our staff. So really, really appreciate that. Just want to also let everybody know we have a Twitter account now, at City of Republic. I'm not a Twitter guy, but please go on to our Twitter account, at City of Republic. I have a Facebook account as well. And the last thing, on the 1024 meeting, before this meeting on 1024, we'll let you know ahead of time, but there's a good possibility we might have a workshop prior to that council meeting, if you're able to attend, to discuss the OTC project, City Hall project, and a couple of other things.
Very good, Mr. Keeling. Is that it?
That's it.
Mr. Derrickson. No, sir. Very good. Future community events. Mr. Keeling again.
October 11th through November 10th is Arthritis Foundation Exercise Program. That's held on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. at the Republic Community Center. October 12th through November the 9th is Toddler Tumbling. That's for ages 2 to 5. That's held on Wednesdays at 5:30 or 6:30 p.m. Pre-registration is required. October 14th through October 21st is Todd Academy. That's for ages 2 to 5. That's held on Fridays at either 9:30 or 10:45 a.m. and pre-registration is required. Mondays, October 17th, 24th, and 31st is Toddler Open Gym. That's for ages 0 to 5. That's held at 9 a.m. at the Republic Activities Building. This coming Saturday night, we're having a movie at the amphitheater. The movie starts at 6:45 p.m. It's a free event, and the movie is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. October 27th, the Senior Movie Day at the Community Center. The movie begins at 3 p.m., and that movie is still to be announced. October 28th, it's a Friday, is our 8th annual Boogie Bash. That is held at the AMP and all over J.R. Martin Park. Activities begin at 5:30 p.m. Admission is free. October 31st, Halloween night, Monday night, is our 20th annual Treat Yourself in Republic. It's more or less a safe Halloween event to allow children in the area to trick-or-treat at area businesses and local non-profit organizations. No registration is required, and maps will be available out on October 24th. November 3rd is the annual benefit luncheon for People Helping People. That's from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at Hood United Methodist Church.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keeling. On the Board, Commission, and Committee schedule, Board of Adjustments, November 3rd. Capital Improvement Committee, October 26th. City Council meeting, October 24th and November 14th. And somewhere in there, a City Council workshop. Planning and Zoning Commission, October 17th. On the old business and table items, a motion and second for the second reading of Bill number 16-20.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending the official zoning map by changing the classification of approximately 80 acres located at 2673 East Sawyer Road from a planned development district, PD 1201, to agricultural AG.
Thank you, Brenda. I need a motion, need a motion and a second for the final passage of Bill number 16-20.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Tyson.
Thank you. I realize it is unusual for us to bring a rezone case to the City Council that goes to the agricultural district, but in this particular case, sort of going backwards in a sense, does a couple of things for the community and for the property owner. First of all, removing it from that Eclipse Event Center Planned Development District enables the property owner to proceed with the special use permit process that appears next on your agenda. Also, going to the agricultural district puts the community in a position that because this entire 80 acres is not currently well serviced by public infrastructure, that being water, sanitary sewer, and transportation infrastructure, because it's not ready for full development, putting it back into the agricultural district puts it into what I call a reserving district, so that the land is largely reserved for future development when that infrastructure does come to the site and makes it available for full development. So reserves the entire property and then also enables the special use permit, which appears next. Staff is recommending the approval of this rezone. The Planning and Zoning Commission also unanimously recommended approval.
Very good, Mr. Tyson. Any questions, comment, or concerns for Mr. Tyson? We spoke at great length about this last meeting, so if you have any questions, now's the time to answer them. No questions? Very good. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Poole,
Aye.
Councilmember Mendez,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder,
Aye.
Councilmember Brashear,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0, or yes. On to bill number 16-19. I need a motion and second for the second reading of bill number 16-19.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, approving a special use permit to operate a farm-based therapy clinic on a portion of land located at 2673 East Sawyer Road.
Thank you, Brenda. I need a motion and second for final passage of bill number 16-19.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Mr. Tyson.
As I just described, this property, because of the lack of public infrastructure serving it, is not really suitable for a rezone to the local commercial district, which would be the zoning district in which this therapy clinic would be expressly permitted as a land use. So for that reason, staff did not recommend a rezone to the local commercial district. It would be a situation that we generally would describe as spot zoning, and is generally not a good planning principle, not a good thing to do, because once it's rezoned to that particular district and it's available for any use within that district, and like I said earlier, the infrastructure is just not there. What this special use permit does is it enables the property owner to develop a small portion of this site in a way that they wish to, and begin to use it for this particular use, and it is restricted to just that use. It also gives the council the flexibility and the authority to place some special conditions in order to make sure that the special use is appropriately contained and developed in a way that does not cause any negative repercussions down the line. A list of those conditions is listed in the staff recommendation at the end of the exhibit. This is another situation where staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission are also recommending approval.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Any questions, comments, or concerns for Mr. Tyson on this bill? No questions, no comments? Roll call vote.
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Brashear,
Aye.
Councilmember Harder,
Aye.
Councilmember Mendez,
Aye.
Councilmember Poole,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Have no new business. On to other business. Resolution number 16-R-75, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, appointing Tony Mitchell to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion second. And Mr. Derrickson, you have the overview.
This is something we've
starting to do a little bit differently. Usually these appointments were done during the mayor's announcement section. We decided for tracking purposes to go ahead and use the resolution process so that in the future if someone was wanting to know or track how someone got appointed, they wouldn't have to go back and search through all the minutes to find where they were appointed. They would be in the resolution database. So that's basically the reason for doing this as a resolution. You'll be seeing those in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. I do want to appreciate Greg Smith and Councilmember Self for bringing up Tony Mitchell's name. Appreciate that. Any questions for Mr. Derrickson on this appointment? No questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Resolution number 16-R-76, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, accepting a bid for a mobile fire simulator. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Chief Compton, welcome.
Thank you. As you recall, back in August, we received a FEMA Fire Act grant, and there was two projects that we were going to purchase, training props that we were going to purchase with those funds. This is the first one that we bid out. This is a mobile fire simulator. There's a photo there that's attached to the back page of your exhibit to kind of give you an idea of what we're buying. We bid this. There are only two vendors in the United States that make this. It's kind of a specialty type prop. One of them submitted a bid back, but it was not filled out correctly. And after talking with Ron and the fact we're dealing with federal money, we just decided it would be in the city's best interest to rebid it. They failed to sign the bid form, is what it boiled down to, and supplies with a federal tax ID number. It was an oversight on their part. So we rebid it. We're running about 2 weeks behind for where we really wanted to be, but that's not a problem. We had the bid opening, and it come in at $81,200. FEMA will pay $77,144. The city's expense is $4,060. We're looking at about a 12-week delivery time. This particular prop will be located at Fire Station 2. Public Works is building a gravel pad to set this on out there. In addition to that prop, we had $85,000 budgeted. We will also purchase these are shipping containers is what these are, that are welded and fastened together. We will purchase an additional shipping container locally because it was cheaper. We bid it on this bid as an option, and it was quite expensive because they were going to ship it here from California when we can go to a local vendor and pick one up for about $1,000 less. And so we'll probably pick that up as well, and that is under the amount that needs approval by City Council. That container will run about $2,500. In the coming weeks, we'll have another bid go out for the training tower that's located at Station 1. Public Works poured the pad for that today, and that'll be coming up in the next. That's the next piece of this, and it'll be coming up next.
Thank you, Chief. You're talking about the secondary container. What's that secondary container going to be used for?
Storage.
The storage container.
Yeah, way some of the other departments that have these have done this is you'll get damaged sheet goods that come back to Meeks or Lowe's that are broke or something that we can burn, and a lot of times they will just donate that. When we were down at doing the OTC burn class down at Nixa 2 years ago, Meeks had a whole bundle of tongue and groove OSB flooring, and they had dropped it and snapped the tongues off the side of the plywood, or the plywood, I call it plywood. Wasn't much use to them at that particular point because it couldn't be used for flooring because it would warp and come up. So they just donated that to the fire department to be burned or used for training. So we'd like to have something like that to put our equipment in there on site. There's some burn barrels and some other stuff that comes with this and some nozzles. And when we come across those sheet goods, we'd like to have somewhere to stick them, keep them dry.
Very good. Any questions for Chief Compton? Councilmember Shears.
Can you explain a little bit about what the purpose of this would be? Is it to simulate what it would be like going to burn a building? Or
Yes,
what?
it is.
Is that it?
What happens is we'll set a fire in the back, the upper portion of this, and it's lined with this OSB or plywood, whatever we have to burn. And the fire will slowly burn up, and then it will flash over. And what it will give the firefighters signs of what's about to happen in a house fire and forewarns them. You do not want to be in a flashover because the chances of living through it is very slim. But we can control this in a controlled environment. And if it does flash over, there's a couple of vents that will open and some baffles in there that will keep them from getting injured. And so, yeah, it's a live fire training problem. How'd I do on that, Mr. Smith? That's summing up about right? Because
They
you've
work.
been through one.
They work. Is this including training for the guys?
Yeah, there is, part of the bid spec included our class or our crews going through a 12-hour training program, so we become trained the trainers. Now, there's another piece to this, and I have to get with Ron, because this is a grant and it's mobile, it can be loaned out to other departments, which I don't have a problem doing, but we will have a release that I'm gonna have Ron help develop based off a couple other departments that where we borrowed their props in the past too, that basically says you will have somebody that's been through the trainer course, and if you're injured, you're not gonna hold the city of Republic liable, and if you damage our prop, you'll fix it, so forth and so on. So, got probably several weeks till I actually need that, because the prop's about 12 weeks out for delivery, and I don't picture anybody borrowing it just as soon as we get it.
And transportation costs will be in with that too? And that-
Yeah, it's included, transportation was getting it here and getting it.
Well, I mean for training purposes for other municipalities.
They're coming here on site to train us.
But when you move the unit to another municipality, that will be in the
They have to have somebody to train. They're
That's-
welcome to send somebody to our train-the-trainer course when we do it.
okay.
There's several of us that have been through this particular course, and I don't think I answered your question, so try again.
I think Ron and Greg are gonna answer it here in just a second.
Are they gonna send a fire truck over, hook onto it, and take it to their location? That's what he's asking.
Oh, yeah, we're not moving it.
All right.
Sorry.
That's quite all right, that's quite all right.
Yeah, it's a fifth wheel design, so it can be towed, rather easily.
Okay.
Are we gonna try to get a truck to tow this? Was that part of the original?
You know, we've been all over the board about towing this. Public Works has a couple of this can be towed with a 3/4 ton or a 1-ton truck. It's not that heavy. Public Works has vehicles that can tow this. Once it's set up at our site, I don't envision us, if we needed to move it, it would be easy for us just to call up one of David's staff and say, hey, when you guys have time, can you come and move it for us? If somebody wants to borrow it, it's up to them to tow it.
Well, I know,
And
I know who's been doing it for Battlefield, so.
Yeah, you're a fire chief.
AG Farms.
So, the next prop is a little bit different, because it is on a kingpin and requires a tractor to pull, a semi-tractor to pull it. Same principle, once it's set for us, I'm done with it. If you want to borrow it, getting it transported from one point to the other is your responsibility. We've done that before. We've had Dwayne Gray move some stuff for us. We've had some of the firefighters down at Billings help us out and move stuff. Getting it moved is really not that big of a problem.
I just didn't know if that was part of your plan or not. I know that's some people's plans in other places, so.
I really don't want to buy it
Yeah,
or
it
have
sounds like to
another
me we
truck
could-
donated.
Sounds
It's
like we
just-
could save some money if we didn't go out and
Maintenance.
try to buy a truck.
I really don't want to do that. We've
Right.
checked into having Henry's, because they have a tractor that they run all the time, move it, and if we can fit into their schedule, it would be $200. Not really worth buying a truck, paying the insurance.
That's what, that's why I was checking. I didn't know what your idea was.
Plus, technically speaking, I'd probably have to have somebody that has a CDL license like Lynn, because this is not an emergency vehicle, so it don't come underneath that umbrella there for a fire truck.
Very good. Any other questions for Chief Compton? No questions? Okay, all in favor? Say aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Resolution number 16-R-77, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, approving and authorizing the city administrator to submit a renewal application for hall provider of bingo premises. Need a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second?
I have my motion and a second. Mr. Keeling, I think this is yours?
Certainly. This is just our annual application for allowing the Republic Senior Center Friendship Board to provide bingo for the seniors there on Mondays at the Republic Friendship Center. This is all just a hall provider application. Ultimately, what we do in turn is we supply them with a letter that says we're a licensed hall provider and they can conduct the bingos from themselves, but they have to have their own license for that. So.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Keeling? No bingo players here? No questions for Mr. Keeling? Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Resolution number 16-R-78, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, awarding a bid for the Schuler Creek Lift Station improvement and authorizing the execution of a contract agreement. I need a motion and a second.
Motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Brock.
Thank you, Mayor. This project is comprised of three main components at our Sugar Creek Lift Station. We're going to replace the high-volume pumps that are on site, install energy efficiency electronics, and we're going to do site improvements. And the need to replace the pumps became apparent during the span of 2007 to 2014 when we expended over $200,000 pump repair and replacement costs. Energy efficiency, essentially the new pumps will be variable frequency drive. You can vary the RPMs of the pump instead of either off or running at 100%. And we expect to save about $8,000 a year in our electrical bill with the VFD pumps. The site improvements were primarily to facilitate maintenance. This is a big project for us. Our low bidder, G&G Construction, could not find a better contractor than G&G. They built this pump station originally in 2001 and 2013. They replaced the old screw pumps out of the treatment plant and built a stormwater pumping station for us. Very successful project there. So we really like the contractor. Another very good feature in their bid. This is an active pump station that serves 70% of the city. The downtime at that pump station has to be controlled very tightly. And one of the big constraints was that the contractors had to submit a written bypass pumping plan. In other words, when the normal pumps aren't going to be able to function, they've got to have duplicate features installed to be able to pump that sewage and keep the system working, so to speak. Far and away, G&G had the most detailed plan of any contractor, so you'll see that bypass pumping as a line item bid. It's not cheap, but it is something that particularly our operators are very concerned with. As mentioned before, it's a large-scale pumping station. We can't afford to have any bypasses or any slip-ups there. So G&G Contracting, our low bidder, at $1,224,134. We're recommending award, and a couple of years in the planning, and we're excited to move forward with construction on this project.
Good, Mr. Brock. You expect, you're talking about going to a variable frequency drive. You said you're going to have electric savings. What about your pump? You expect to see a longer life on these pumps? I know you said you have troublesome high-volume pumps. Is this going to eliminate some of this?
We would hope so. These pumps were picked out of we did a pump selection process. We had, if you remember, this was back earlier this year. But we did a detailed analysis on a number of different manufacturers, KSB, ABS, and Flight. The selected company were Flight, and we looked at not only the purchase price, and they're not the cheapest price off the shelf, but we looked at long-term operational cost, repair cost, and far and away, the flight pumps were the proper selection, I think.
And if this passes, what's the time frame for the install?
More than likely this year, there won't be a lot of disturbance. We would expect a pretty good lead time to get a lot of the equipment in from the manufacturer. I do want to mention John Forster's here tonight with Olson Engineering, and I do want to commend them and our staff. I mentioned this, the plans and details took a long time to put together, but there are a lot of details here. John's staff, Jerry Jeskies, our project engineer, and our staff, they were in the weeds for months and months and months. So to answer your question, Mayor, I wouldn't expect a lot of things to get done this year. We expect the bulk of the work will probably occur after the first of the year, but as we sign the contract, the first thing we'll do is ask for the contractor as a project schedule and be able to provide you with more specific information at that time.
Fair enough, fair enough. And you did put this out, and these are the only three construction, or the only bidders that came was three?
It is three. I don't know how many plan holders we had, John, do you recall?
We had two of the plan holders and one plan holder. Talked to them, is Smith and Edwards, who we worked with on another number of projects. They said they couldn't fit it into their schedule, they were too busy.
Okay.
And that's what we're running into, is that some of these, there's not an abundance of contractors available out there. Answer one question on the, you asked a question about the efficiency. Working with the VFD, running the pumps at a slower RPM, it will reduce some wear on the pumps because of the lower velocity.
Okay.
So I want to throw that out there.
All right. And we have worked with G&G Construction, as you said. Happy with their work, happy with their service?
Absolutely.
Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Brock while he's up there?
You may have mentioned this, what kind of life do you expect to get out of this equipment?
There's a lot of pipe and fittings there that life expectancy 30, 40 years. The pumps more than likely 15 to 20 years before you've got substantial replacement or expect substantial replacement.
Okay, any kind of warranties on the equipment?
John, you want to field that one?
We go with the standard 1-year warranty. I think they do have, I have to look and see.
Multi-year prorated warranty.
We've got some prorated up to, what is it, 18 months or 2 years. There's a proration on the pumps too. I have to go back and pull that information.
So really anything after 3 years is on the city to fix?
In most cases, and it's, unless you, I mean, that's the standard in the industry, wastewater industry. One of the reasons why we picked Flight is we have a number of large horsepower Flight pumps in our system, and they've been very reliable for us.
It's good to know. Thank you.
Any other questions? We have one, I know the major maintenance, the internals of the pump failing and stuff like that, but we still would do seals and things like that in-house, or is that going to be done from an outside source?
Those would likely be outside source on the pumps, yes.
And we expect, or seals to seal, we don't know how long that's going to last, so. All right, any other questions for Mr. Brock? No questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Resolution number 16-R-79, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, to authorize the purchase of 26 Spikes Tactical ST-15 16-inch M4 LE carbines with SAR 223 5.56 millimeter with ambi safety and 130 round magazine rifles. I need a motion and a second.
Motion?
I have a motion and a second. Lieutenant Wheeler.
All right, the police department's asking to use part of our cash reserve that we have that we've talked to our finance director about. And what we're looking for is 26 rifles. Currently, the Republic Police Department does not issue or have any patrol rifles that are issued to our officers. So what you get into is our officers carrying some of their own rifles to have. And just like our handguns that you approved and that we went forward with, we're trying to standardize what they carry so we have some control and somewhat lessen the liability of what's going on the patrol field. The other reason we're asking for rifles is there are certain tactical issues with just using a handgun. And with all that's going on around the world, and especially in the United States, this is the time that we need to look at purchasing these. Also, you know, nobody likes to hear it, but with the upcoming elections and stuff, this could really be a game changer of if we're going to be able to get some of these rifles in the future and or potentially ammunition. So currently what we do is we train our guys on a AR-15 rifle. That's what these are. And again, they're using their own rifles. We went out for a bid, sealed bid. We went out to 4 different manufacturers and only one came back. That's not really unusual because 26 rifles may seem like a lot to us, but to the manufacturing world, they're shipping out hundreds or thousands of rifles at a time to very large departments. We're very excited to get this bid back from Spike Tactical, a very reliable company, and we're excited to be able to use the Spike Tactical. Part of Spike Tactical, their warranty is a lifetime warranty on all their parts. They have on cosmetic stuff, you actually have up to 10 days if a rifle gets shipped to you and there's some cosmetic issues, but all the parts and the working parts are lifetime warranty from Spike Tactical. Something else I want to mention that is that this is just the rifle with the hard sights, and just to kind of clarify that is what we're trying to do is budget next year for the scope that would go on the rifle, the sling, the bag, and things like that. The reason that we're wanting, again, to push this through right now is because of the upcoming election. We're not for sure where it's going to go with things like this.
Thank you, Lieutenant Wheeler. Any questions for Lieutenant Wheeler? Mr. Smith?
Is this gonna make sure that we don't have officers with their personal rifles?
Correct. Just like our handguns, once we get these rifles in place and in circulation, they will no longer be able to carry their own personal rifles.
Mr. Smith, with that, earlier this year, the officers had their own handguns they were bringing in.
Correct.
And we standardized to one handgun, so it's kind of the same round. You talked about ammunition. Is there a fear of not being able to get the ammunition?
Right now, we have not had any issues getting .223 rounds.
Okay.
Right now we have enough to qualify everybody 2 times, which means to qualify on a rifle we would need at least 200 rounds per officer, which we have that times 2.
Okay.
And then we also have enough to issue 100 rounds per officer on duty ammunition currently.
Now you're talking about training, and training is going to be done by whom?
We have 2 trainers in the rifle field. One is Sergeant Burks. He's been our rifle and handgun instructor for years. And then we also have just sent one of our detectives, Detective Romero, who has 20 years in law enforcement. He just came back from a rifle qualification course to be a train-the-trainer.
Oh, very good, very good. Mr. Keeling?
I did just want to speak to the funding aspect of a minute ago that Lieutenant Wheeler alluded to. We, as of right now, have approximately $116,400 in a reserve fund for police department equipment and vehicles. If you were to approve this purchase, it would take it down to approximately $92,000. The subsequent agenda item, if you were to approve that purchase, that would take that balance down to approximately $69,000. So I just want to make sure you are aware of the amount of money available. This is exactly the kind of purchase we put that money back for, but I just want to make sure you have the numbers. So.
Thank you, Mr. Keeling. Mr. Smith? And then
And I'm assuming that we're going to have supply some backup rifles also, so if an officer has a problem with their rifle, they can get a backup.
Absolutely. Currently we have 25 sworn. We have 20 patrol, so by going with 26, the first thing that would happen is we'd automatically have 1 extra, but technically we would have 6 extra right out of the gate, because we're a few officers down right now.
And then are we gonna have somebody that's gonna be able to service them in-house?
Yes,
Certified
Sergeant.
by them to...
That's
to do
correct.
parts
Sergeant
on it?
Burks is already a certified armorist, and so is Officer Hughes that was just up here. Councilmember Wilson?
It might also be noted that the city administrator said that he should go ahead and get it.
That was brought up in a capital improvements meeting that we had.
What was that?
We talked about in the capital improvements meeting whenever they were going through with their pre-budget stuff. They brought this up, and David just shook his head and said, get it going. So, and that's what they did. Thanks for doing your homework. Good job. Any other questions for Lieutenant Wheeler? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Lieutenant Wheeler. Resolution number 16-R-80, resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri to approve the purchase of 16 body-worn cameras and accessories. I need a motion and a second.
Motion. Second?
I do have a motion and a second. Mr. Lieutenant Wheeler again.
I'm back.
You're back.
All right. This quote was for 16 body-worn cameras. Again, with things that are going on around our country, body-worn cameras have become the thing that's not becoming the thing of the past, but the thing that you're just about going to have to get. What we did was, just about 4 months ago, we made a purchase for the WatchGuard system inside the cars. WatchGuard also has their 4RE product that is a Vista Wi-Fi body camera that actually links up to the systems we already have in the cars. That's really what we were waiting for, because we really don't want to get multiple systems going. The body-worn cameras, as you can see, the bid is for $22,790, and again, the funds would come out of the reserve fund that we just spoke about. The reason we're just going with 16 instead of going to 26 is, one, we do want to, as technology constantly changes, 16 is kind of the magic number for us. We typically would have 5 on duty at a time, potentially, if we're fully staffed. You need rotation because we're on 12-hour shifts, so you can't just come off of a 12-hour shift and hand your body camera off to somebody else. So that would create an issue with 10. And the reason we came up with 16 is we currently have 2 detectives, and then we would need at least a few extras in case one's down or the battery needs to be charged a little bit longer. In some cases, because these are put on the person's uniform, there is going to be a slight chance that some of the guys take them home, realize when they get home that they have that, and return with it. So 16 is kind of the number we went with, because we got some bids for 30 cameras at first, which was substantially higher, obviously. It was about $42,000, and so we stepped it back to the 16 cameras. Just a couple things to note is WatchGuard has started to ship the Vista Wi-Fis. They have been tested in very large agencies. We planned for this, so when we were developing the memory storage space for our in-car cameras, we actually upped that when we purchased it, so there wouldn't be any need for any more purchasing of storage space. We already have that in place.
Good planning. Any questions for Lieutenant Wheeler?
I take it, from what I can see, this is hardware and software. Do you foresee any other additional costs, or is this pretty much everything you need to complete the package?
This is everything, including one clip that goes with each officer. The only additional cost would be as we add more in the future.
Okay.
But this would get us 16 fully operational with storage, software, and everything. That also includes 10 of the connections that go in our 10 vehicles that we currently have. This will take place of the body-worn mic that they have. So the body-worn camera is basically the same size, so we're not adding an additional mic and piece to the officers. That's the other reason we want to go with this one. Yes.
Mr. Smith?
I see the licensing. Is that a permanent license for each
It is?
camera? Okay.
That is correct. Yeah, there's no additional, it's not annual or anything like that.
Good.
And it's state-of-the-art stuff, right?
It is.
All right. Any other questions for Lieutenant Wheeler? It is good. This is going to be big for the city. It's going to be big for the municipality, so thank you very much. No other questions? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Resolution number 16-R-81, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to officially accept a loader scoop style from the Department of Defense. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, and Lieutenant Wheeler's back yet again.
All right. This one is kind of the ask for forgiveness later type deal, but I had an opportunity just a little over a year ago. I'm the one that takes care of our 1033 program. The 1033 program is how we acquire items from the feds that have been decommissioned as military items. These do not last, and basically what happens is I'll either receive a phone call or something will pop up on my email, and you literally have minutes to decide if it's a nice item, like this front loader. Basically what happened is I received a phone call and they said, we have 6 front loaders for the state of Missouri. They're not going to last. I immediately picked up the phone and called David Brock and said, because I can't drive this thing, kind of gave him a description of what it was. He said, man, that sounds really good. I said, I've got to do something quick, so I called our state representative back. She said, if you tell me yes right now, you'll be 5th on the list, and I only have 6. I said, get her name down. Well, things happened quickly. We actually worked it out with the help of David. He was able to facilitate getting it here. As far as I'm concerned, it runs well. It was free to us as a piece of equipment. There was some cost to get it delivered and a little bit of maintenance that we have. This is considered a decommissioned piece of equipment. We own it now. It's not on our inventory list. We don't have to give it back. This was a decommissioned piece A, which means it's ours. Now, we can't sell it to a non-governmental agency. That's the only catch. But what we can do is we can transfer it from the police department to City Works after 1 year. We've had it for 16 months, so we've passed the 1-year mark. Okay, so basically we're just trying to clean up some paperwork on this.
So we don't need light bar or decals or anything on this, correct?
No, I assume all the lights work on it. We need a
Slow speed check.
I will tell you that I've seen it work. I mean, David could speak to it better. When we get a piece of equipment like this, some of the requirements were that it has to be used in some form or fashion within that year for the police department. And we actually were redoing some of our range, and the way that I wrote up the item was that in some catastrophe, we've got to be able to get our police cars out. So if trees are down on roadways, this might potentially be the piece of equipment that pushes stuff out. So that's one of the other reasons that we were able to get it.
All right, very good. Thank you, Lieutenant Wheeler. Any questions? Mr. Wilson?
I saw it go by the house the other day. It was moving right along.
Get a siren on that thing.
Any other questions for Lieutenant Wheeler? Mr. Bashir?
How old is it?
It's 70s.
76. But it is military grade. It's an excellent asset for us, and we appreciate the kids' efforts on this. But it's a specialized piece of equipment that we use on a lot of different projects. It can move material.
We've had it for 16 months.
Yes.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Resolution number 16-R-82, resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into an engagement letter with BKD LLP for services related to reviewing and analyzing the Stormwater Capital Improvement Sales Tax Fund. I need a motion and a second.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Keeling.
Sure. I know you've been generally made aware of what's going on here, but all the way back to, and I do want to give a brief history of the stormwater sales tax, all the way back to when it was first voted on by the public in November of 1995, and we began collecting those funds in April of 1996. The stormwater money that came in from that stormwater sales tax was commingled with the street department fund. It's a bad accounting practice, and it's not the right thing to do. Now, we've had 4 subsequent renewals of the sales tax, 98, 02, 07, and 11, and those funds still today are commingled. We're in the process, I know we spoke earlier, of getting those into their own funds. The best way we know to make things right and to get things right is to bring in an independent private consultant from the outside to do an internal review and analysis of those incoming revenues and to track our expenses as well. David Brock, our Public Works Director, has done an in-house thinking of our expenditures. We've got to validate that, validate where the funds came in, how much they come in, where our expenditures come in, can they all be tied to stormwater, to get a clear indication of what those balances and those funds need to be. 100% we're going to make it right. The monies that were collected for stormwater will be spent in stormwater, but to give you, the City Council, a clear understanding where we're at, we desperately need to get the independent consultant in here to give us a clear picture of where we are financially, so we can make sound decisions going forward. I can tell you that there's a lot of writing on this as far as future decisions. This will impact 2017 budget going forward. We're hopeful that they'll have this completed into November, first part of December. We're going to bring that back to you for your review, give you all the pertinent information and numbers, and like I said, I think they'll have that back to us by the first meeting in December.
Very good, Mr. Keeling. Any questions for Mr. Keeling? No questions?
They think they can have it done by December?
I think so, yeah. Now, they are prepared to start as early as tomorrow, pending, of course, your approval. That's one thing we opted, and really the only reason we opted to go with BKD is because they were the only person that could get this turned around as quickly as we needed it to. We desperately need to get it done for budgeting reasons for 2017, and obviously once the error was discovered, we got to make it, get it done as quickly as possible. So we're going to start as early as tomorrow. I believe they can have it done by December. So.
Any other questions for Mr. Keeling?
As your exhibit there notes, there is a little bit in the air as far as what will be the final expense. They're estimating anywhere from 30 to 40 hours of professional service time, and that'll be of course, in-house, starting here as early as tomorrow, at their place. That could range anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. Once we have a firm handle on what the exact bill is going to be, we'll relay that on to you. So.
And where's that 10 to 15 going to come from?
It'll be coming from the general fund.
General fund, okay. Any other questions for Mr. Keeling? Very good. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. With that, been executive session?
Unless you want one.
I don't want one. Anybody else want one? I'll take one. So, just, motion and second? I need a motion and second for adjournment.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Brendan, you trying?
You sound like you're getting this down.
Yeah, man.